Inclusion everywhere and for everyone. Let's talk about that. Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Alva Valentino and I'm the host of my channel. Let's talk about that. Today I wanted to talk about inclusion because in a very personal level, I got to read a disclosure of the policy of the company I work for about inclusion. Well, it was this whole paper about inclusion, equality, well, all of these topics that I'm not diminishing, okay? But all of these topics that we're kind of talking lately everywhere and obviously here too. So before we get to this, please consider liking and subscribing to this channel so we can keep promoting conversation. I wanted to create this space where people are able to talk and speak their minds. And I know sometimes I come out a little bit violent. That's because I get angry with a lot of the nonsense that's out there, okay? But I also get this anger because, as I said before, if you don't know, I'm from Chile. And so I was taught the history of my country. We went through a dictatorship where people weren't allowed to do a lot of things. Amongst those things, speaking their mind was one of them. So a lot of people was killed because of their beliefs, because someone heard them speak with their friends or family about things you weren't supposed to, and they just disappear. So I think part of my culture is like not let that happen again and stay your ground. No matter who you are, what color your skin is, what's your sexual orientation, we all have the right to have an opinion, to speak up, to say what we think. We shouldn't be afraid to say what we think. And so when I see all of this violent speech that's trying to censor everyone who disagrees with, it makes me sick. It makes me sick to my stomach because I've learned where that ends up, and it's not good. It's not good. But anyway, inclusion. As I read this policy of the company I work for, I realized that I might come sometimes a little bit violent in my opinions, and I don't want people to think that I am against everyone who's different or to everyone who thinks different than I do. I encourage conversations, and that means with people that don't agree with me, because if not, it's like just listening to yourself all the time, right? So that's the spicy, to be able to talk to someone who doesn't believe necessarily the same things you believe in. And so I don't want people to think that I'm against the LGBTQ people, because the community today, I think the worst enemy of LGBTQ is the LGBTQ community. And it worries me, because I do have friends that are gay. I have gay friends, lesbian friends, I have asexual friends, I have pansexual friends. I don't have any transgender friend, but despite everything you've heard me say, I have never been disrespectful when you are talking in a political way, in a cultural way, I'm not going to pretend that biology doesn't exist. But for example, when someone comes into the store and it's a trans woman and it clearly looks like a man, because maybe it's just, you know, in the path of transitioning, I would never allow myself to call him, he, sir. I am obviously going to call her, she, ma'am, whatever seems appropriate to the age. So it's not about rejecting these people. I wanted to make this clear because the message I want to put out there is not only for, you know, heterosexual people or conservatives to feel like they can speak and to encourage them to speak their minds and say when things are not right, but it's also specifically for these people, gay, lesbian, trans, to defend your ground, because inclusion, it's a very beautiful thing, but when you do it naively, it's dangerous. You cannot think in your right mind that everyone in the planet is just a good person, a sane, mentally healthy human being who just want good and comes in good faith, and everything they do is in good faith, because that's not the case. And I am going to talk about this in another video, but I think it has a lot to do with the censorship and this trigger warnings and the fact that we don't teach dangers anymore. Now everything, you cannot say this, you cannot say that, it's ridiculous, but that's not the point of this video today. The point is, you can be inclusive and still discriminate. Your brain is wired to discriminate. Discrimination is not always a bad thing. Your brain is wired to do that, to keep you safe. If you're walking on the street at night, okay, and 100 meters away, I don't know, there's a skinhead, like a really big man, all tattooed out with swastikas and stuff, and at the other side of the road, there is, you know, a nerdy, geeky-looking man, you're going to discriminate and cross the street. But if you remove the nerdy, geeky man and you put an alien, you're going to choose the skinhead, because he's still a human being. That's discrimination. Discrimination comes in a lot of ways and forms, and it's not always a bad thing. Okay, so you do need to discriminate some people. What do I mean? If someone were to came to approach you and say like, I identify as an abusive person, and he says, I don't like consent, and my sexuality is to force myself into people, you wouldn't be like, oh, welcome. You would be like, no, you're not welcome in our community, because we don't force ourselves into people. We are for consent, right? That's discrimination. So when your mindset is that everyone is good, every person acts in good faith, you are allowing a lot of sick people, perverts, maps, to get into your community. And they are not going to do good. And as it now, a lot of people are afraid to speak their minds, but also you can see how things are shifting and people are getting really mad, really angry. And this is going to backfire to you, to your community. And I am starting to see this, and I do not agree, obviously, but I understand why some people now are so angry, and they just don't care to discriminate and say not all LGBTQ are like this. They just don't care anymore because you haven't been able to stand your ground and say, this is a safe space for us. We are here to support each other and build ourselves up, not down. When you let these people in, you're destroying everything everyone else before you fought for. The homosexual community fought a long way to be able to be openly gay, openly homosexual, and go out and be respected and not attacked. And when they're attacked, it's a hate crime, and all of these things they fought for are going to be dismissed because you're letting these sick people get in. A grown-ass man who just says is a woman, you let him go into a woman's bathroom where you know there might be young kids, young girls, and honestly, like 99% women are not going to be able to defend themselves in a situation when a predator is trying to attack them, and you are allowing this because you want to believe everyone is good. And unfortunately, that's not the truth. Inclusivity, it's good. We want that. But you cannot do that while being naive. You don't want to go backwards. You want to go forward. I think this is very, very, very much important, because when you allow these people to destroy all of this you fought for, and even destroy women who have been historically your allies in all of this, no matter what I think, it's going to backfire to you. Me personally, I don't want that. A lot of people out there don't want that. A lot of people are still your allies, but we're getting tired of this majority. But if you are reasonable enough to understand that something's wrong, then you need to speak up. It's gonna have way more impact than if I do. We are not bad people. You're not bad people for pointing out something that's wrong and saying, hey, this person is not acting in good faith, and we cannot just let this happen like that. Or maybe just saying, you know what, this is a problem and I don't have the solution. We need to talk about this. Allowing anyone who identifies as a woman into women's spaces, maybe that's not a good idea. I don't want to discriminate to people who do effectively, honestly, identify as women and live their life as women, even if they're not biologically one. And they're not going to damage anyone. I know I put Blair White a lot of an example, but I wouldn't want her to go into a men's bathroom. But I don't have the answer, and that's why I think we need to talk about and recognize that sometimes we don't have the answer. It's just not black and white. We are in a gray area, and it's okay to recognize that. We need to work with that. But at this point, I feel like it's going not into inclusion or doing this for good. It's more like revenge against tradition, against the traditional family, against heterosexual people. And that's not good, because that's not sane, because that comes from hate, and that's never good for you or for anyone else. So inclusion, yeah, we are all for it, but we need to think about it and be critical. The fact that you want to include and create a space where people can feel safe does not mean that you cannot discriminate. as well. Because remember, your brain is wired to discriminate, to protect you and keep you safe. And that's gonna make it for today's video. Thank you for sticking around. Once again, please consider doing the YouTube things, you know, click the button, subscribe, and thank you for being here. Love you guys, and see you on the next one. Bye.